I didn't even know how black I was until I came into England.
Hello, Sunny Bonani, beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode. And once again, happy Black History Month. It is the month of October. It is Black History Month in the UK. And on this show, 𝙏𝙘𝙖𝙣𝙠 Unplugged, we have invited our favorite Black comedians from the UK to come and share Black History Month with us. And on today's episode, we have one of my favorite comedians, a very good friend of mine, someone who took me under their wings when I first came to England, Benjamin Bankole Bello. Let us welcome Benjamin.
How are you? How are you? How are you? When did you become a doctor? I didn't know you were a doctor. Doctor of what?
I am not a medical doctor, so don't be falling sick around me. I will just run away like everyone else. I am an honorary doctor because of my amazing work that I have done.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. I didn't know. When next? The next thing is professor, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah. Good.
actually have been offered a professorship, but I was busy on tour.
Oh, okay. Good. Good. Good.
And
Good.
I don't
Good.
think I want to go back to the academic world anyway. So it's just the title.
Yes, the title is good.
It
Yeah.
is.
Probably,
I should start being introduced as Dr. 𝙏𝙘𝙖𝙣 on stage.
yeah, I probably should have told you that I come from the royal family in Nigeria. I'm not a prince, but I'm a chief. I just don't use the word chief Benjamin Bankole Bello. I don't think it will go well in England if you put chief. Maybe that should be my pronouns. What's your pronouns, chief?
But it would go with Chief President.
Yeah, chief president. Yeah.
And how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I've recovered from Edinburgh. I'm sure you have too. You
I
know,
have, at some point, I started missing it.
yeah, I think I didn't miss it. I think because I had a short stay there, but I think it was just interesting to see how. So when you're in Edinburgh, you're there. You do an hour, you do an hour 30 minutes, and then you come back to the circuit. And when you come back to the circuit, you'll be lucky if you can do more than 20 minutes. So it's almost like you don't have that creative freedom anymore, like you did in Edinburgh. I for and that was what was I got had to get used to. I just felt restricted that I didn't have that 1 hour to just say what I wanted to say, 20 minutes, and then get off the stage. Someone else has to. Yeah,
It did mess up my timings. I got worried because when you've been doing this hour for the whole month,
yeah,
and then you come back today, you're doing 10 minutes, tomorrow you're doing 20 minutes, the next day, it's like you don't even know what do I take, what do I not, yeah,
yeah,
it did get confused. I miss the chaos. I miss having comedians around me because for me it felt like I was in Disney. It was
yeah, yeah,
Disneyland comedian.
yeah,
So I miss the noise. I miss the fun.
yeah, 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 yeah. But I think I don't know. I don't know about you, but I think 4 weeks or 3 weeks is a long time to be gigging, and you really need to be able to take that break. So I really enjoyed, even though I was there for 10 days, I enjoyed just coming back home and just relaxing a little bit before going back to perform.
But
Yeah,
also I've done a lot of full Edinburghs. It was my first full
I
Edinburgh.
know, I
I've
know,
never
I know,
done it for the whole month.
I know, I know, I know.
It was, and you've done, how many have you done?
I've done three: 2015, 2017, 2019, and then recently 2023. So four in total, four Edinburghs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. I think I want to go back next year.
Well, I think you should. I think you did. You did extremely well. I came to see your show. It was full, and yeah, and I think, yeah, you should go back and do, because they say you should keep up the momentum, especially if you've had a good. The first one was good. Keep up the momentum, and yeah, if that's what.
And people were saying I should bring back the same show because they like the name.
It's whether you feel that the show. It's whether you feel that the show. A lot of people heard about the show, and you feel that you can't write another hour. But most people tend to want to write a new show and
Mm.
take it to Edinburgh rather than and just. I think the way to do it, in my view, is once you've taken a show to Edinburgh, you then record it, and then you bury the ghost and you start
Mm,
all over again. That's the way to do it. Because I think if you take it next year, that stops you from writing another one
another
hour show.
album.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And you
Can
want to
you change
develop.
the title and change the content?
Yeah, you can. You can. People do that. There's even someone who goes there every year and he does the same show. Yeah, so it all depends on what 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 you want to achieve. If you want to achieve writing an hour every year and take it to everybody, that's what you need to do. If you are comfortable with doing your show regularly, constantly, so that people have been doing it for 10 years, just that same show, because it's a cult, it's become a cult show and people like to see it. But that's not development for me. I like to, challenge myself and do other shows. It's up to you.
I've got ideas. We'll talk offline. Thank you so much for joining us. And happy Black History Month. What does Black History Month mean to you?
One of the difficulties about this Black History Month thing is um, I am non-binary. I don't identify as black or white. So, um, so, so when you say Black History Month, yeah, I think it's really interesting. I remember when I was in Nigeria, there was nothing like Black History Month. We didn't have to celebrate that we were black or the or the history behind being black. So it took a while for me to understand why do you need Black History Month and why does it have to be just in October that you have to practice and there's all these seminars. What happens in January, February, March, April? Do you stop being black? So yeah, but it's taking some getting used to.
Why then, in places like South Africa, we don't have a White History Month?
I didn't even know how black I was until I came into England. Because it was never ever a subject. It was, I was amongst Nigerian people, all black, not an issue. And then I arrived here and I'm reminded that I'm black, you know. So
And
yeah,
then we fill in the forms.
and then you fill the forms, and
They,
the forms have
they
changed
even,
now.
they
The
even
forms,
uh, divide us as Africans and divide us as blacks, like
yeah,
Black Caribbean, Black African. It's a lot.
it's a lot, and yeah, it gets confusing at times because it depends on how you want to identify yourself every day. I could identify as a black Caribbean, for example, and then there's black Caribbean, British. There's a lot. There's a lot. Whereas I think there's only one white. There's only one category, white category, isn't it? There isn't.
Yeah. It's like in America, how they say African Americans, but they never say white Europeans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But on a serious note, I understand why Black History Month is important, especially for those who've never been to Africa or been to the Caribbean, were born here, and we know the challenges that Britain faces with racism and all the other issues. Did you hear about the black man who was killed in Bristol recently by a white woman? Yeah,
No. What happened?
got stabbed by a white woman. Yeah,
For?
a black man in Bristol, 65. Yeah, a racist.
Because?
Racist because he's black. It's as simple as that. Welcome to
Wow.
Black History Month. Yeah, yeah,
Has she been arrested?
yeah. She's been arrested. She's been arrested. The girl, it's all over Twitter. Been arrested. I was quite surprised. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't been keeping up to date with social media. It was my birthday on Friday,
Oh,
and
nice.
a show on Saturday, and a lot of partying. And I
Okay,
forgot my phone at the theater.
okay. So, what did you do for your birthday?
I went to Basingstoke. I was going to see The Greatest Love of All, which is a tribute to Whitney Houston. But the lady who plays her had a throat infection, so it ended up not happening. So we went to a friend's house where I organized my own surprise birthday party.
Oh, okay. But welcome to England.
Thank you.
The cost of living. The cost of living means that friends will not, surprise you.
I had to
You have to
surprise
surprise it.
myself. I had to surprise myself and give them instructions on what to do.
Yeah, yeah.
How long have you been in England?
Ooh, wow. I was thinking about it the other day. I've been in England since 1986. So
Before
yeah,
Nelson Mandela came out of prison.
even before Margaret Thatcher decided, if I can remember, decided to meet Nelson Mandela, or before the Queen decided it was okay to meet Nelson Mandela. Yeah, so 1986, and yeah, I was born in Liverpool, and then left at the age of 5, and then came back at the age of 19. So at the age of 19, they put me on a plane and said, "Yeah, come to England." Yeah, and I didn't know what to expect, honestly, because I couldn't remember anything about my youth and being from 1 to 5. I just couldn't remember anything in Liverpool. So it was strange coming back to England and being told, "Oh, you've got a black British passport." Yeah, yeah. Well, the first thing, go on.
Was it because your parents were here working, or were they studying?
Oh, my parents were just so clever. They were geniuses, you know. So, as I understand it, they made love in Nigeria and gave back to me in Liverpool. Passport sorted, you know.
Oh,
It was just,
yeah.
just fantastic. So I think, yeah, I think they made love together in Nigeria, and then they came to study, and then yeah, gave back to me, and yeah, with my brothers and sisters, yeah, it was yeah, and that's what.
And it was when it was easy. You give birth to a child in a country, they become a citizen.
No, before Thatcher changed all that. Thatcher, people were coming from Africa to have children in England just to get the passport, and you were entitled to everything. Yeah. Welcome to welcome to Black History Month. You know, they did it in October. Yeah, yeah. So it's really interesting when you look at the Tory party now and how right wing it is. That was the beginning. Thatcher began the whole thing, just questioning everything about immigrants, and all of a sudden, I think even if you have a child now, you can't have a British passport.
No,
It's not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not entitled to a British passport. So yeah,
unless one of your parents is already British.
yeah, yeah. So that was immigration. That was their immigration policy in 1986, and it's obviously escalated to something else that we
Mm,
no longer recognize. But yeah, and also they can take your passport off you, can't they?
they can. Yep.
They can take your passport off you if you're not careful.
You have siblings, right? How many of you?
So we've got 8 in total.
8.
8 of which one is dead. But the
Sorry.
others are yeah, but the others are pretty much alive. The fourth, no, the fifth one in the family. We've got 4 brothers and 3 sisters. Yeah.
I did meet your sister when we were gigging.
Are you sure it was my sister? I don't think you met my sister.
We were gigging in what's that show that we do together
Oh yes, yes, yes. That's the Shane Bedford.
in
Yes,
Bedford?
yes,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. My younger sister was there. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
That's jokes and laughs in Bedford.
Yes. Jokes
You
and
you
love.
stumped, you stumped it. You stumped it. You
Thank
were one of
you.
the few comics to be asked to come back. So you came back twice, didn't you? You did
Oh,
the
yes, I
first
did.
time, and then you
Thank
came
you
back
so
a couple
much.
of days later. Yeah, yeah. That's been a good show. It's been a fantastic show. So I work in partnership with Sam Jojo,
Yes.
who runs the comedy night, and it's a great opportunity to showcase black talent, but so that they're not accusing us of being racist, we always make sure we have a white
And white.
token act
For diversity.
for diversity, so
For
we're not accused
diversity.
so we're not accused of being racist. Yeah.
Yeah. And out of all your siblings, how many were born in England?
Are you part of the immigration? These questions. No, so out of 8 of us, 4 of us were born in England. Yeah, 4 of us. Yeah.
I hope it's the man because I am in search for a British passport.
Oh, well, the men are too old for you.
The British passport is never too old.
Well, what's the value of a British passport? To be honest with you.
I know, I know. And I do have a British passport.
Yeah, I know. I know. I know.
Do you regret being taken back to Nigeria at the age of 5 and being brought back here?
I think it was the best thing that could ever happen, because if I had stayed in England, I probably wouldn't have known enough about my culture, if that makes sense. Yeah, because I tend to meet a lot of what I call Black British people who don't even know anything about where they come from and act really, really white. And they are the ones who actually need Black History Month more than anything else because they need to understand the history. And we do have quite a number of people who have been in power in Britain who act white. Um, so I suspect if I hadn't left, and it wasn't a matter of it wasn't my choice. My parents just decided they were relocating because it was during that time of independence in Nigeria. We gained independence in Nigeria, and it was wonderful for my parents to have studied and to have gone back to Nigeria because they were offered jobs and really, really good jobs. And the currency rate at the time was £1 to a naira. So can you imagine? Yeah, exactly. Don't ask me how much it is now, but it was £1 to a naira. So can you imagine how the quality of life in like why would you want to be in a country where you will experience racism when you can be back home and then all you can experience is tribalism, but at least it's coming from your own people and not from and not from a white person. So yes, I have no regrets. I think it was the best decision to go back and just to understand my people, understand my culture, understand where I come from. So I don't have any questions or any crisis about my identity. I know who I am. I know where I'm from. I know my culture, and I'm proud to be who I am.
And if you do have money, you live a better life in Africa.
Well, yeah, you would have lived. I think the key thing is my parents weren't rich when they went back to Nigeria. You would have lived a very, very good life in Nigeria. But now, the people who are enjoying Nigeria, I'm sure it's the same in Africa, in South Africa, are politicians. Nigeria just recently turned 63, 63 years of age. And in terms of its leadership, Nigeria should be behaving like a grandfather, but it's behaving like a teenager
Mm.
as far as I'm concerned. So if I had to leave now to go to Nigeria, my sister, I don't think I will last 2 weeks because the money will run out. Unless my father is extremely rich and a politician. So yeah, but yeah, it's yeah, when you compare their life then and now and the things they were able to do in the 60s, I can't afford to do that. I can't afford to just leave and go to England. I'll come back. And I've got lots of people who've gone to Nigeria and come back thinking they could settle there. They just couldn't. Financially, it was just tough.
And having come back at 19, was it to go back to uni?
Yeah, it was to go back to uni. So I got admission into university in Nigeria. They asked me to go and study anthropology.
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
yeah, well, nice. That's studying ants. What do I want to do with
That's nice,
anthropology?
though. That's
Sorry?
interesting.
Well,
That's
no, I didn't.
interesting. I wanted
But I
to
don't.
study geology.
Okay, but I don't think I would have. I don't think I would have. I don't think I would have made a success of studying that. So yeah, my mom saw, but apart from that, she saw that I was I loved my drink at the age of 16, 17, 18. I was a bit of a rascal. So she said she thought, I think this boy needs to leave Nigeria and come to England. And I think that was a wise decision because I was becoming very wayward when I was in Nigeria. Yeah. Yeah.
And how did you get into comedy?
Oh, my sister. Um, so it was by accident. It was really by accident. Nigerians love to party and love to party. And so there was someone who was celebrating his birthday, and there was an MC, a master of ceremony, who was supposed to come and warm up the crowd and entertain the crowd. He didn't show up, so this friend of mine just said, "Look, Ben, can you please come and take this over because they can't find the MC?" And they had paid him, and he didn't show up. So I was there as a guest. My sister, I just took the microphone and I just started talking to people and just, winged it. And I was just being myself, just being
Mm.
naturally funny, that the, not knowing that I had carried the audience and the atmosphere and the fact that, the MC is very, very, I didn't even know that you needed an MC, but I just did it. And then towards the end of the show, someone came to me and said, "Oh, have you ever tried stand-up comedy?" It was a white guy. He said, "Oh, because you are too funny, you should be doing stand-up comedy." And I just thought, what does mean by stand-up comedy? And I didn't even know what stand-up comedy was because back in Nigeria, there wasn't anything like stand-up comedy. The way we we laughed at things was there was so many sitcoms on TV. Like there was one called Village Headmaster, and they were all in character, and they, it
Yeah.
was almost like, yeah, that's what I knew as stand-up comedy. So going on stage and talking about yourself or just talking about things was, I didn't know what that was about. I didn't even know who Richard Pryor was, talk less of Eddie Murphy. So he said, "Oh, this is my card. You should come to the comedy store." So I went to the comedy store, and when I
Wow.
arrived, yeah, I went to one of their gong shows, and I just saw these people going on stage and talking about themselves, talking about their lives, talking about their stories. And I said, I can do this. This is easy. This is easy. So they asked if anyone wanted to have a go, and I went on stage and I did 5 minutes because what happens is if you last 5 minutes, then they don't gong you off.
Yes.
So yeah, yeah. So I did it. I didn't prepare. I was just being funny on stage, not knowing that there was a technique to it. So I did that, and then the thing with the comedy store is that you have lots of people, comedy promoters and comedians who are there too. So they liked what they saw and they decided to give me gigs across the country. So I started gigging, not knowing that there was a technique. Doctor, not knowing that there was a technique. So the second time I went to go and perform, I died. Third time, died. Fourth time, died. I just kept dying.
After winning the gong, you know how difficult the gong is.
No, I didn't win the gong, but I,
You
I,
beat it.
I beat it, but I didn't win it. So
For me, that's a win.
yeah, yeah, okay. But
You know
anyway,
how many people can't last 20 seconds on that stage?
yeah, yeah. So anyway, I did it, and yeah, what was really interesting was going to all these other clubs and they're not doing well and wondering why. And then I just thought about it. Ah, there's a technique here. There's you have to prepare, and then I started learning about you need to prepare your set, you need to structure it in such a way, and you need to, it's almost like going for an exam. You go for an exam, you don't go to an exam without rehearsing, so you have to rehearse. It's only when I started that technique that I started doing well at gigs. But it wasn't easy because I also created, I wasn't doing what they call straight stand up. So I was doing comedy in character. So I'm the one who's behind this famous character called President Obonjo of Laughter Republic.
Yeah.
And I wanted to create, I just wanted to create something different when I started performing comedy because I just thought, how else are you going to be able to stand out? There's so many people performing stand-up comedy and do something different, not knowing that that was a challenge on its own because not many people like character comedy. But yeah, I was able to pull it off, and
How long have you been going?
so without the pandemic, I'd say 12 years. 12 years, yeah. And interesting enough, because I read some books, and I don't know if you've read Michael McIntyre, who he's a comic, a well-known comic in the UK. Yeah, and
Yes, yes, and I think I still have the book. Yeah.
I don't know whether that's true now, but there was always the view that in order for you to break in and make it, it's going to take you at least 15 years. Yeah, that was basically, and that wasn't then. Those were, but it's different now. It's really different because when you say how long have you been going, and you say 12 years, it the industry doesn't treat you like a bottle of red wine. When you have a bottle of red wine and it's been going for 12 years, oh yeah, it's different for someone who has been going 2 or 3 years. But
I think
but
also because now they have social media,
yeah,
so people don't have to wait for that break to get on TV,
yeah, 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 yeah,
go
yeah.
viral with just doing one video. But then also it does become tricky because some people go viral, get a lot of following, but when you put them on stage, they cannot perform.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I know. And I mean, look, there's so many stories to share. And there's nothing, excuse me, that beats experience as far as I'm concerned, because you never know when you're going to need it. I mean, there was this weekend I went to a gig, and I won't name exactly where, but it was not laid out properly, like in a proper comedy club, but they had lots of people in there. And I arrived there and I said, "My God, this is going to take some education, but I'm gonna deal with this." So when the character, you've seen the character, when the character is on stage, he dominates everything. Getting people to sit down properly before he even starts his show. And people are laughing already. Like, what the fuck is this? What's this all about? It's just, it's the experience is really, really important. I think the longer you gain experience, it helps. And so, and especially for comics out there who think you can do this overnight, especially if it hasn't happened overnight, there's a reason why you're gaining that experience. It comes back in the long run. It helps in the long run. Edinburgh is a good example. Edinburgh is like a camp.
I was shocked when people were telling me how long they've been coming every.
Yeah, it's a camp. People go there to get better as a comic because that is the only month where you can get as many gigs as possible. You
I
know,
think by the end of it, I did uh, over 156 because I
yeah,
stopped counting at
yeah,
156 gigs.
yeah. Are you able to do 156 now? No.
No.
Yeah, yeah. It's impossible. It's
Mm.
impossible. And that's that. And then if you add that, if you were doing that every year, can you imagine how many gigs you were doing and how? I mean, there's so
Mm.
many things that happened in Edinburgh that I've put into my set. That's just
You would not have experienced it anywhere else. And
yeah,
one thing I appreciate a lot also about Edinburgh is it teaches you the skill of reading the room because you can do 5 shows a day.
different,
It's
different.
different audiences, it's different
Oh,
people.
but,
What works
but
at 1 o'clock is not going to work at 3:15.
yeah, yeah. And then what's really interesting is on Saturday, Friday, this gig that I rearranged and everything, I got a standing ovation.
Nice.
And then on Saturday, which was a real proper club, I didn't get a standing ovation, but I did very well. But that's how you can tell. But same set, but just a different response. And
Yeah.
that reminds you of Edinburgh that you do 3 shows or 2 shows in a day. One could go well, and the next one
Mm.
is still yeah, exactly. But yeah, but that's not
And
about
also,
you. That's not about you. That's about
sometimes the show that you think didn't go well is actually the one that went well because they won't be laughing. They'll just be clapping here and there. And
yeah.
then afterwards, you realize they were industry people. They were there to observe, not to watch and laugh.
But also that happens with rich middle class people as well.
Yes.
They see you like a work of art, like a painting. Let me admire, and they are drinking red wine, but they're
Yes.
enjoying you. And
Wow.
the way they're enjoying you is after you said, I really enjoyed that, even though they
Yes.
didn't laugh out loud.
And then that's when you get your corporate gigs. I got a few corporate gigs from Edinburgh,
Yeah,
and it was
excellent.
not the most exciting audiences.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was not the ones that laugh and give you a standing ovation. It was like
Excellent,
the ones where you're like, you should be in the stock market somewhere. What are you doing here?
yeah. Yeah, so that's how I that's comedy, and that it started in 19. Ooh, when was it now? So I said 12 years ago, and that's the thing about comedy. Actually, I think can be quite addictive. The day I held the microphone, I've never held back. I've never. It's just you just want to continue to do it unless you're not really enjoying it. That's what you get addicted to it, and when you're not geeking, it's like you're missing something. But yeah, that's it.
And the good thing with you is you can go as yourself as well as the character.
Yeah, this is a good one. So I did a gig a couple of weeks ago as myself, and what was really interesting is the comedy promoter said, "Yes, I'm going to give you the chance," because a lot of people prefer. This is what's really strange, but they prefer the president to me, even though I'm the same person. So he said, "Oh, come on, do I want to see you?" And I did it, and I did well, but it wasn't um, the same response as
The
being the
president.
president. Yeah, yeah, because he's been going for years. But
Mm.
what was also interesting was how some of the audience members were responding because they had seen me as the president and they saw me as myself and they just couldn't believe that it was the same person. But it was nice. It was nice to be able to do just talk about myself and talk about my life because obviously the president is fictional and so these are all fictional stories. But just being able to talk about myself was good.
I put out a questionnaire to ask
Mm.
people what questions they want us to ask you.
Oh dear.
Yeah. And I got a lot of responses.
Okay, well, so what were the questions?
Okay. The first question is, how do you celebrate Black History Month?
So there are a couple of things I'm doing this month. So I'm running a comedy show. So we're going to be celebrating Black History Month at the comedy show.
Do you go to the events as the president or as Benjamin?
Yeah, they want the president. So I'm going to be in full uniform. They said, look, bring the president. We want the president. And so, even though, yeah, it's really interesting how a lot of people said at these events, bring the president. Um,
Interesting. Are schools doing enough to teach about Black history?
I think some schools are. And I'm not sure what Baverman would think. The Home Secretary, she probably will ban Black History Month. I don't know if you know about Baverman, the Home Secretary, who's very right wing. Um, yeah, very very right wing, and yeah, but I think there's a lot more that can be done. I know there's been a debate about having Black History Month as part of the curriculum. I'm not
Mhm.
sure whether that's actually happened because I don't have young children at school anymore. But I think a lot was done during the George Floyd's death. You remember when he died, and there was a
Yes.
lot of lots of events and lots of things happening at the time. So I think it just needs to be reviewed. But I think yeah, a lot more could be done in schools.
And who is your favorite historical Black figure?
It has to be Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah. I think this was one of many African leaders who fought for independence, and it's a shame how he died. But he's always been someone I admire, and I'm sure most people, if you don't know who Nkrumah is, then that's sad because you should know Nkrumah. Yeah, he was one of many along the lines of Nelson Mandela and the others. But Nkrumah, they all fought for independence. Julius Nyerere, these were all people who I admired in terms of their leadership and just being able to stand firm and oppose oppression by white people. I thought that was brilliant. So I've always looked up to them.
Said how you say, if you don't know Nkrumah, it's a sad thing, because a lot of Africans don't, because our school syllabus will teach us about members of the royal family in England than teach about our own heroes. That's why, as parents, as big sisters, big brothers, as aunts, uncles, it's our duty to make sure we talk about these things in everyday conversations, because they're not going to learn it in school.
Yeah, and that's why that's one of many. I know I joked about Black History Month. That's why Black History Month is really, really important. I'm sure it's the same in South Africa, but certainly in Nigeria, there were things I discovered about Black history in England that I was never ever taught in Nigeria. And I went to a secondary school where the boarding schools were named by former English principals, Robert, yeah, James, Powell House, Carr House. And we were almost being raised like white people, actually, middle class Nigerians, boarding school. And the only books that I remember that they allowed us to read was Chinua Achebe, which was Things Fall Apart. But for us to be able to speak Yoruba, which is a language in Nigeria, it was almost like forbidden, like Yoruba. You got to sound like the queen, the king, So government, I went to government college, but so it was like King's College in England. So you can imagine the eating of Nigeria, spoken a certain way. Interesting enough, one of many reasons why I can't speak Pidgin English. Pidgin English is now a big thing in Nigeria and has been. Is in
You do not speak pidgin.
I can't. I know Sabi small small. I Sabi small small, but I
Hmm.
wasn't raised in that. So a good example is Fela
Yes.
Kuti. Yes, um, they wouldn't even let me go to the shrine to go and see Fela.
Oh. Because we were taught that anything British was like ace. Uh, English is the measure of intelligence. Yeah. you have a bright future if you speak English. And then you come here, you find a lot of homeless English people.
Yeah. Look, I did not appreciate Fela until I arrived here. Yeah, I arrived here and I saw white people listening to Fela in Camden. And I've
Mm,
always, so it's always something I cherish that, oh, I wish I had that opportunity, but my parents wouldn't allow me to. And then I arrive in England, I go to a place in Camden, and white people are dancing to Fela and Nicola Bakuti. And I'm saying, that is where I come from.
mm.
Why have I been denied this part of my heritage? You know, it's part of my culture. So yeah, and that's why you need Black History Month at times. Yeah,
Yeah, it's very, very important.
yeah.
Most inspirational Black Briton.
Oh, it has to be. There used to be a Black MP in Tottenham, Benny Grant. Yeah, he died many, many years ago. One of the things I liked about him is that he was just true to himself. He used to go to the House of Commons and wear the agbada, the Nigerian outfit. I'm not sure what year he was elected, but I arrived in 1986 and he was elected with Diane Abbott, who you may know, and a couple of, there was a first time seeing Black MPs, people who look like me, in the House of Commons. And actually, at one point, I had aspirations to want to become a politician because of them. And Benny Grant, I think the first day he arrived as an MP swearing in, he had his Agbada, Nigerian Agbada, as a statement, but they were representing their people. They were not what you call career politicians. They were not
Yes.
interested in aspirations. They wanted to represent their people, and they wanted to be seen in the House of Commons because they knew that. And I think that's a tragedy because Diana Abbott had Afro hair as a statement. You know, these were true Black people who recognized that they were Black and they were prepared to celebrate, but not only celebrate, they understood the impact of having them in those positions and what it
Mm,
meant for the community. No, it was yeah, Benny Grant. Yeah, no, these were Black people who were not just only Black, but they were representing their people. They were not what you call career politicians. They were not interested in aspirations. They wanted to represent their people and they wanted to be seen in the House of Commons because they knew that. And I think that's a tragedy because when I look at the Labour Party at the moment and the things that they're doing with Diana Abbott, there are not that many Black MPs. There are Black MPs, but they're not holding important positions. You know, and that is sad.
one lie you were told about Africa.
I think one lie you were told about Africa would have to be it must be about our educational system. The fact that we were all taught to speak English and that English was the first language. I think that was just so much of a lie because it was only after a while I realized that there were so many other languages in Nigeria, so many other languages outside Nigeria. Oh, and that Africa is a beautiful place. Every time we traveled out, we would always come to England. Why couldn't I go to South Africa? Why couldn't I go to Tanzania? Why did I have to come to England and people tell me how beautiful Kenya is? I have never ever been to Kenya. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's almost like they imparted those. Almost call it like a generational curse because they passed that kind of lie to our parents not to really value Africa. Yeah, yeah, and they passed it on to us. And, and you grow up not really knowing enough about Africa. It's a nonsense that I spent so many years in. I have never even been to any African country. They passed that kind of lie to our parents not to really value Africa.
Africa, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
And
they
we
passed
grew
it
up
on to us.
really
And,
not looking.
and you grow up not really knowing enough about Africa. It's a nonsense that I spent so many years in. I have never even been to any African country. The day I went to the USA, I went to Maryland, and I
Mm,
arrived in Maryland, and I wanted to have a look at the White House.
mm.
Yeah, this was in the early 80s. I saw potholes near the White House. I saw Black people outside. These were people who were just didn't have anything to do, homeless. I was surprised that is this God's own country? The
Mhm.
bits of it looks like Africa. How come they don't show us this bit, but they show us the nice things? Hollywood.
PR. It's like how you meet someone on the internet. You meet someone either on social media or dating apps. It's
Mm.
not the same person you're gonna meet when you actually make that connect.
Oh no, I was really really surprised when I arrived and I said, "Oh, is this what America has to offer?" Because for me, I have a conscience. When I travel anywhere, I see the good bits. I also want to see the bad bits, and I was quite surprised that very close to the White House, I don't know about South Africa, the presidential palace in Nigeria, that place there's no potholes. At least for that place is and then you go to the White House, and in Maryland you see, oh, I mean Washington D.C. you see potholes, and you're saying, and then you see black people, and you're saying, wow, this is America, this is God's own country. Oh wow, I'm coming back to England. Come back to England, yeah.
We visited your Instagram because we are that nosy. And we would like you to tell us what was happening here.
Oh, so Instagram. So when I'm coming back from a gig, at times I'm still in uniform, and I met this guy called Matthew Paris, who is a political editor, and
Mhm.
he writes about all these top politicians. So can you imagine, this photograph went down a storm because I'd met Matthew Paris, who is well known. He used to be a conservative MP, and he's now a political analyst. So I posted that photo to say, look, I met him. Um,
He's
Excelled.
writing a story about me.
Yeah. And interesting enough, I get to meet quite a lot of political leaders. So, for example, when I was in Edinburgh, I met the First Minister for Scotland, who is who's I think is Hussein Yusuf,
Mm.
and he's Asian. And I just met him on the street, and he asked me, and he said, "Oh, are you in the British Army?" I said, "No, I'm not in the British Army. I'm in the Laughter Republic Army." And but if I was a real president, that would have been a state visit, a photograph
Mm.
of me meeting the first
And
Scottish.
did he really believe you with Laughter Republic, or did you have to tell him, or did he
I,
just
I didn't have to say anything to him, but he's not American. He's not like the
Mm.
Americans who believe that there's a country called Laughter Republic or there's a president called Laughter Republic. Yeah. So you're on my Instagram. There's so many videos of Americans. So this is what happened a couple of weeks ago. I did a video in my bedroom supporting Donald Trump and basically saying in character that if they don't release Donald Trump in 24 hours, I am going to invade America. I did that video in my bedroom with uniforms I bought from Stephen H. and flags I bought from Stephen H. in my bedroom on a Friday. By Saturday morning, I had 60,000 retweets, 10 million views, and and before I knew what was happening, for at least 6 days, my Twitter handle, my Instagram, everything was just going absolutely mad. People were responding. The people were retweeting it. Americans were retweeting it. There were Americans who were saying, "No, he's not president. Go on Google. Google says it's Benjamin Bankole Bello. It's fictional. How can we allow someone who is so fictional deceive us like this?" And some Americans said, "Oh, we don't care. He's telling the truth. We don't care if he's not a real president. He's telling the truth." Anyway, the icing on the cake was when Reuters, the press agency, got in touch with me to fact check me whether I was a real president or whether I was a comedian. So, so that's one of many successes of performing in character. And so and up till now, people are still sharing that video where I addressed Biden. And then I followed it up with another video where I said, look, I know you guys are unhappy with the Biden government. We will give you refugee status if you want to come to our country. And people are looking for Laughter Republic. They can't find us in a map. So my latest one now is to say, look, uh, don't use Google. Use African Google. There is something called African Google, and people are looking for African Google. On live TikTok, when I do live TikTok on a Saturday from 9 to 10 every Saturday, I have phone calls I say phone calls. I have video calls from people from South Africa, from Kenya, from Togo, from all over the world. They just want to talk to me
Mm.
about their problems and what's happening in their respective country. And just before this interview, there's someone called the former president of Kenya, uh, Uhuru Kenyatta. He's just
Mm-hmm.
joined Twitter, and he basically said that I'm joining Twitter so I can engage with my people. If I tell you the number of Kenyans I talk to on TikTok, so I've just written to him that I'm President Bonjo. Come and join me on TikTok on Saturday. You want to engage with your people? Come and join me. You will hear Kenyans talking about the state of your nation, and it's just really interesting how these real world leaders don't get social media. They don't get the fact that if they engage with their young people, there's a lot that they can just just bypass the people who support you, your staff, and talk to your people. If someone like me, fictional president, is talking to a Kenyan, and a Kenyan is telling me, "I wish President Ruto was on TikTok. I wish Ramaphosa was on TikTok. I wish Biden was on TikTok." Hello.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
true. That's just so interesting.
Yeah. And and,
It is
and, and the amount of material that I've got from just interacting with people, I at times I don't have to write my material because I just, there are some of them who they'll go on Google and check. Google will tell them I'm a comedian. They'll come back and say, "Oh, Mr. President, Google said you're a comedian," and I'd say, "No, it's the Western media planting stories about me to make me look like a comedy buffoon. Fake news," and they believe it. They do. They believe it. Yeah. So it's all good.
that
Yeah.
is
I needed to write about this, even though recently, believe it or not, I was car sharing with someone who said to me, "Oh, I saw your article, but it felt like it was a bit of publicity, a PR, so that you can get your name out there." I said, "Sorry, that I felt so strongly about it, and I had done that article. If you read the article, if it was PR, I would have said at the end of the article, 'Come and see my show at so so
at
so
so
so.'"
and so.
Yeah, but that wasn't the case. I just
Mm.
wanted it out there. And I knew people would be, some people would, not that they didn't believe me, but they probably just thought, "Oh, don't talk about it. Let's talk about reviews. Let's talk about who's made it in Edinburgh." But actually, you need to see the good, the bad, and the ugly side of Edinburgh at the time. We don't have that many black comics go to Edinburgh in the first place. So
Yes.
give people, let people hear your story. I remember one black comic coming to me and say, "Oh, I'm really sorry to hear what happened, but I've never experienced that sort of thing before." I said, "Oh, well, you have never experienced
But
it,
they,
but I did. I did."
and
So,
they experience it, they just don't talk about it. But we cannot in 2023 have black people who go through these things and not address them. Because it
yeah,
means in 2043 it will still be happening to your
yeah,
grandchildren.
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
you didn't address this in 2023 when it was happening.
Yeah, yeah, and I can understand that, and I can understand that some people will be reluctant to. But for me, it was a case of I'd been to Edinburgh several years and
Mm.
several times, and it never happened. And all of a sudden, this happened, and I needed to say something about it. And if it means that nobody wants to book me because of that, tough. But you need to be aware of it. And it was it. People read it.
Mm.
People read it, and hopefully, it changes people's behavior. It made me like,
What's happening here?
oh, so this is the podcast, and someone asked me to come to talk similar to this, come and talk about my comedy life, and he had two microphones. But one of the things I didn't say was that my late father, always saw me as a broadcaster. He said I had a
Oh,
good he said I had a good voice. So that picture, it just reminded me of if I had become a television broadcaster. But it's never too late. Maybe I can still explore that. But
you can.
that's how it would have looked like if I was on BBC or E4 studios or whatever, or ITV, but
Or,
not GB News, not GB News,
or Laughter Republic TV.
or Laughter Republic TV. Yeah.
We did get naughty and get some of your family photographs.
Oh
Because
dear,
we
where
want
did
to
you
get
get
to
this
know
from? Internet. Oh
your
God,
family members.
internet. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's my late dad. That's my late dad. And what's really interesting about my late dad is this: at the age of 5, and you will know this, you get people talk to you. in the comedy industry about reviews and reviewers. My father was the first person, and I was having a debate with someone the other day. My father was the first person who said I was a comedian.
Mm,
He recognized it in me at the age of 5, and he was basically saying,
wow.
"Oh, I love to take you around with me because you always make me laugh. You always make me laugh." So it was really interesting because I wrote something the other day, and I just thought, at what point do you start calling yourself a comedian? When do you start calling yourself a comedian? Is it when other comedians call you a comedian, or is it when you start making people laugh, or is it when a relative says you're a comedian, or is it when you're having a chat with someone and someone on the street said you should be on TV, you should be a comedian?
Is
But
it the day you get your first paycheck?
it's the first day you get your first paycheck. But this
Is,
old man of mine who died in 1986, um, yeah, he was the first person to ever say to me,
so he died the year you came back to England.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Wow.
So I'd left and then he died. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
But then, yeah, when do you become a comedian? When does one become a comedian? That's an
yeah.
interesting question.
Honestly, well, I mean, how do And I get because it's just really interesting how within the industry there are levels to comedy, as you know.
Mm.
And recently someone saw me. I was catching the train, and I tend to chat with all these train inspectors because they know me very well. And he said to me, "You, this man, you make us laugh all the time. You should be a comedian. Why don't be brave and go on stage and go and perform? Be brave."
And they don't know that you are already a comedian. You never told them.
And that's what got me thinking that actually the people on the street don't even know what it takes to be a
Mm.
comedian. They just think making people laugh in the living room makes you a comedian. Talking to someone on the street and making them laugh or at the station makes you a comedian. Oh, you should be a comedian. You should be on TV. They have no idea. You know the pain that we go
And for
through.
me, though, it's the biggest compliment, the greatest compliment. When someone who doesn't know that I'm a comedian tells me that I should be a comedian,
Yeah, yeah.
I take it as a compliment.
Yeah. I do at times, and it just makes me laugh and that's what got me thinking about this. At what point do you call yourself a comedian? Because
Mm.
when you're on stage and you're performing, not only are the audiences judging you, comedians are also judging you, like it or not.
True,
Yeah,
true.
they're judging you as well. You got the MC judging you, you got the comedians judging you, you got the audience judging you, you got the photographer judging you. It's not an easy task. And but it's rewarding if you can get it right. You start building an audience and you walk into a room and you just make people laugh. It's the best job on earth, being able to do that. But it comes with a lot of pain. It comes with a lot of rejection. It comes with you wanting to be accepted. And if you are the sort of person who doesn't want to be accepted and you just want to be on your own, and when I say be on your own, just your own path, then great. But if you're the sort of person who's needy, who needs acceptance, who can deal with rejection, I always say that if you're in before you go into comedy, because people go for comedy classes, don't they? But before you do all those comedy classes, I would say you should be thinking about what makes a comedian: resilience, assertiveness, being able to deal with rejection, confidence in yourself. All these basic things that we take for granted is what you need to become a comedian. And if you haven't got that, please don't do it because it will break you. It would really, really break you.
Would you allow your children to be comedians?
I've never ever thought about it, um, and I'm not sure. I really don't. I'm not sure. Not that I have any regrets doing it. It is a very. It's. I'm sure you agree with me that at times it's a very lonely experience performing. Yeah, and also your own little world, and you almost have to be selfish at times to allow people into that world. And that's why a lot of comedians are not very successful in relationships because if you're with someone and they need your time, and it's almost it was the pandemic that made me realize that, oh my God, wow, I've been doing this for years, but actually There are lots of other people who love me. This is not just about comedy, who are seeking my attention. And I'm so into this. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm. And then they're having to wait to be paid on the 38th of the month.
Oh, look, I have so many stories. There was one recently. It was like 14 days, and then I was told it will be 28 days. And then I wrote back and I said, when I was on stage and I was making your people laugh, did they wait 28 days to laugh? No, they laughed immediately. Can you imagine? I mean, you would have died if you would die on stage if you were performing and someone waited 28 days
Before
to
they
laugh.
laugh.
So I don't
And
that bit, that bit of it I don't get. That bit of it I don't get.
also, we pay so much money to get to gigs to then have to wait to be paid. Anyway, that's a story for another day.
But there's another one I want. These are my brothers. So my brother on the right is my younger brother. He's in London, and that's my older brother from the States. And can you see that I'm looking older than all of them? That's what comedy does to you. It makes you go, you go gray.
Because they shave.
They don't even have gray hair. I mean, the one on the left is 10 years older than me.
Because you keep them laughing. Because laughter is the best medicine.
But it's really interesting you say that because as far as I'm concerned, I disagree because I heard that the other day. Someone said laughter is the best medicine. Really? Yeah, it's laughter is the best medicine for the audiences, not
Mm.
necessarily for the comedian.
That's what I'm saying, though. Like,
Yeah,
laughter is the best medicine, except when you have diarrhea. And they
yeah.
look younger because you keep feeding them with laughter. You make them laugh,
So
but
you
you don't,
drain,
they don't make you laugh.
so you drain yourself out then, don't you?
We do. We do.
Yeah, you do, and that's why it's really important. I remember my second Edinburgh, and I did the full run. I don't know about you. I came back and I was just extremely tired. I didn't even know where I was because I was in that bubble of Edinburgh, and I came out of Edinburgh, and I just thought, wow, what's happening here?
I was, I was so tired. I came home. I think I slept for 3 days. I would just get up
Yeah,
to eat, drink, use the bathroom.
yeah,
And then another thing I noticed, it took me a few days
yeah,
after starting, like even with the day I came back, it felt like there was lockdown.
yeah,
It felt like I was in a different world because there's so many people all the time in Edinburgh during the festival.
yeah,
It felt like we were back like in the lockdown days where there's no one on the streets because it
mm,
just felt so empty and so strange.
yeah, 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 yeah,
But I will do it all over again.
yeah.
Who be this?
Oh, that is my mom. That is
Beautiful
my
woman.
that is
Beautiful.
my lovely mom. She was 80 this year.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
we had a fantastic, wonderful party for her.
Lovely.
Yeah, yeah, she was. Yeah, it was a good party.
Oh, that's nice. And
Yeah,
all the siblings were able to go.
we were all there. You know how we Nigerians are. We wanted to celebrate, and we did. And yeah, and it was really interesting about all of this is so one of the things I haven't said is that before I started performing comedy, I used to be very shy. I found it difficult
You were
addressing
shy.
the yeah, 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 yeah. I was shy. I was shy. And I made it funny. And I know I couldn't and I knew I couldn't have pulled it off if it wasn't because of the stand-up comedy. Yeah, exactly. So the all that stuff about reading the room, holding the mic and who to interact with and how to pitch this, the jokes and and I ended up by saying, "Mom, it's because I love you. If I didn't love you, I'll be in uniform." Because she she thinks I should see a shrink.
What does she think about your character?
No, she didn't take me seriously until when BBC Studios and EFO tried to steal the character off me. But there are times when she says to me that, okay, this uniform thing, I know you were brought up around that military coup because there was a lot of military coups when I was in Nigeria. So
Mhm.
my idea of leadership is that you're wearing a uniform and you're in military. military gear. So
And you take
um,
over.
and you take over. So I remember there was a time I went. I just come back from a gig, and I went to go and see her because I just wanted to see her before I came back home. And she said to me, "Why are you wearing this uniform?" And then when she found out that I started performing as myself, the relief. Thank God, I like you like this. Yeah,
Oh, that is so lovely.
so you can tell, but she's supportive. She's supportive.
And I grew up in Africa. So I want to know if we have any similarities as Africans in the way we do things, in how we run our households. So I want to know if you relate to any of this.
Gone.
You know you are African when you are not actually related to most of your cousins. Do you have people you call cousins that you are not related to, but
No,
you grew up calling them cousins, whether they are children of your parents' friends?
no. Your my as far as I'm concerned, cousin has to be blood related.
Blood related.
Yes.
With us, even people I meet in England, if we come from the same village, you are my cousin.
No, that doesn't happen. Sorry.
If our
Maybe blood.
parents used to work together, we are cousins.
Really? No, we're not.
You can't sleep over at your friend's house, but you can at your cousin's house. This is mostly when you are growing up, when you are younger, where your parents don't allow you to sleep over at anybody's house unless they are relatives.
But there was never any sleepover during my time when I was growing up. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I never experienced any sleepover. But I know it's a traditional thing. If you're going to sleep over, I must know the parent. I must know
Yeah.
where you're sleeping, which house you're sleeping in, and their background. But in Nigeria, there was nothing like sleepover. Sleepover? Okay,
Yeah,
maybe
I
you just
slept over at my
maybe okay, maybe yeah. But we never call them sleepovers. So okay, fine. I spent time with my cousins, but we never call them sleepovers.
Mm. So it's
Yeah.
just visiting grandma.
Yeah, and
And
I think the sleepovers that you're referring to in Britain, they're not necessarily family. I was surprised if Nigerian family members are calling it sleepovers. Oh, let's go and spend some time with your uncle. It's a sleepover. No, it isn't. I think the sleepover is where people went to school together, maybe friends, and you want to go and spend some time in a friend's house. That is what I call sleepover. But yeah, hello, that family to family is not sleepover. Sorry.
when you're traveling, half the things you've packed to travel are not yours.
Not in this day and age. I'm sorry. They have to be. I'm not packing anything for anybody. No,
Did you not get through that stage where you are just buying things and sending to people at home, or whenever you're traveling, you have to carry a lot of things for other people?
no, I never. I'm not. I didn't go home frequently, so it was sporadic. Something had to happen for me to go home. Either someone was getting married and someone had died. I just didn't go home for the sake of going home. Um, but no, no.
When you or your family have parties, instead of hiring a caterer, every guest brings a dish. But Nigerians are big on catering and food.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's really changed because life has become really stressful. So
Mm.
it's really interesting. Even when you talk about catering, there's some families that don't even eat at weekends; they just go out to go and eat.
Mm.
So I think that's more of a cultural change more than anything else. That certainly when we had when you have an 80th birthday party, you have to hire a caterer. But if it's a small gathering, then you can cook. But hello, some families are really big. You know, they've gone into town. I know a family that has well over if they wanted to have a Christmas party, for example, and invite all family members, you'll have up to 40 people in the house.
Well, I say that we are the
Why
same.
would you allow your wife to cook for 40 people? She's going to be stressed out. So it's better to have someone who could, yeah. So that, yeah, I think we're adapting a little bit of the British culture. The bit that really irritates me is when I'm maybe having a party and then Nigerian friends come with a bottle of wine. I say, what's that? Why are you coming with a bottle of wine?
Why? You don't want people to bring alcohol
No. That's
because you want to provide.
Yeah, that's English, man. That's very English. Yeah.
It's the English that want you to bring something.
Yeah, I know you can't come into go to a party and not bring something.
You must be throwing the best parties then if you're like, don't bring your own
But
alcohol.
yeah, but it's not every year. Maybe once in 3 years. My sister, there's
Mm.
cost of living now, so you have to save up.
You show up 2 hours late and you are the first guest to arrive. Do people show up late like when you have events and parties in Nigeria or?
Well, well. Don't start
Well,
me.
I've been to a show where I was supposed to be on stage at 6. I was on stage at 2 a.m. the next day.
Please don't start me off because when I saw that. That's what I just thought. I didn't even think of parties. I was just thinking about comedy shows and comedy shows and black comedy shows. You've done my show. It's mainstream. You got to arrive at a certain time and you're done by a certain time.
Oh
There's
yes.
no lateness. There's nothing. But yeah. Oh, geez. Please don't start me off. Don't start me. Don't let me.
We want to teach people about Black people during Black History Month so that they know, even after Black History Month, the things we don't like them to say or do to us. So the next section of the show is called You Never Say or Do This to a Black Person. 2 things you should never touch.
My hair.
Mm-hmm.
My hair, even though I have no hair, but don't start talking about my hair.
Mm.
What's the second thing? It's mainly my hair more than anything else. Yeah. I can't think of anything else. What's the second thing?
I don't know.
Oh, I can.
Glasses, your private parts, it could be a lot. Your
Oh,
wallet,
excuse
it
me.
could be a
No, but
lot.
that doesn't happen to me. Just my hair. Don't touch my hair. But because I used to have Afro hair like you actually when I came in the 80s. And just, can I touch it? No, you can't touch my
Mm.
hair. But also the thing. This is not about touching. This was more about the fact that I would get up and speak in the 80s, and someone will say to me, "You speak very good English for a Nigerian." Hell, of course I do. Of course I do. We speak better English. But don't come and remind me and tell me that I speak. My accent might be different, but don't come and tell me that I speak very, very good English. What were you expecting? Pidgin English? Yeah.
In a multiracial relationship, things you will never say or things you should never say.
Well, I've never been in a multiracial relationship, so I don't know. I
But if
honestly,
you were to advise people things they should never say.
you're a different kind of black because you're my husband.
You are
You're
better than
different
the rest of them.
because you're different.
Yeah, they do like to say oh.
You're a different kind of black. Yeah, you're just so different. Yeah.
Things you should never say to a pregnant Black woman.
You've put on weight.
Things you should never say at a Black funeral.
I hope he has a will.
Things you should never say to a Black president.
You never did anything for black people.
Did President in the Republic of Laughter, the Laughter Republic, did he do anything for Black people? Does he do anything for Black people?
Wow, he sure does things for black women, but not necessarily for black people.
Okay, I wonder because we've been talking about the president, and some people may not have seen the president, but they will after this video because they have to go and
Mhm,
subscribe to your social media platforms.
mhm,
And we will leave the links,
mhm.
but I want to give them just a glimpse of who the president is.
Oh, hello, how are you?
This guy here,
Britain needs a different kind of leadership, and I'm here to take over. Yeah, why are you laughing? I'm here. I'm going to take over Britain. President Obonjo of Laughter Republic. This message is to Macron and the French government. We are fully aware of the fact that France is infested with bedbug infestation. As a result, we have imposed a travel ban. No French citizens are allowed into our country until this bed bug infestation is resolved. I will not repeat this. No French citizen is allowed to come to our country because of the bed bug infestation. We have now imposed a travel ban on French citizens. Do you enjoy watching yourself?
I enjoy recording.
Yeah.
I enjoy writing.
Yeah.
When it comes to watching, I don't like my voice, but I've had to learn because I edit for myself, but I'm still struggling to watch myself doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
But when I'm acting, I've had to learn because I feel like I'm not watching myself. I'm watching a character.
Yeah.
What about you?
So the very beginning, I didn't put it because you need to watch yourself, especially to understand which jokes are working, the interaction from people.
Yes.
So as I progressed and I watched some of my old videos, I didn't enjoy watching myself. I just thought, what was that about? And these were videos like so many years ago. So those old videos that I see now, I just cringe, if that makes sense. Because you obviously, this is all about personal growth. As you get better, you grow more confident. You know what you're doing. Yeah, I enjoy watching the newer videos now compared to the videos of 10 years ago. I just,
When you look at a video and you think, I don't want to post it, but end up posting it, do you find that the ones that almost didn't make it to the public platforms are the ones that go viral, that do very well?
yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, and I think as comics, we're very, very hard on ourselves because people see things that we don't see, and you have to have high goals and targets and terms of where you want to be. But yeah, what was really interesting was when there was one I posted. It was an old video, and it went viral, and I couldn't believe it. It just went viral. There were no jokes. That I forgot my lines. I acknowledge that I've forgotten my lines, but it was just funny. That interaction with the audience was funny. And there are some comics who are doing well just posting audience interaction. So they don't post their jokes, but just post something that happens in the room that they haven't
Yeah.
written. And those things are going viral. So yeah. It's just that you want to see you have an idea of how you want your act to be seen, but not knowing that some of these things are really really funny to certain people, or just the fact that people see you. Well, there's something I used to say, and it was a joke at the time. I'd say that every time I say great stuff, is because I can never remember my lines. Great stuff, and people just start laughing. Now I didn't know how funny that was until I posted it online, and it just that was the funniest bit of your. It's almost like a catchphrase. Great stuff, great stuff. So yeah, so it swings about, it swings around. Yeah.
Yeah, and before I let you go, I need to know what was happening here. We need to know what was happening here. You do so many things.
Okay, so this is what this is what happened. So I arrived in Edinburgh on the 6th of August, and my uniform, my luggage, I couldn't find my luggage. Went missing.
And
Someone
you
had picked up.
did you fly or did you come on the
It
train?
was train from King's Cross, and I arrived in Edinburgh, and I didn't have my uniform. And the next day, I was going to perform. So, and I've always wanted to wear a kilt, but I couldn't afford it at the time that I came to Edinburgh many years ago. But now I could, so I decided, okay, fine. Rather than wear the uniform, because they said it's likely they will find the luggage and they'll let me know, I decided to go and buy myself a kilt. So I bought the kilt that day, and I was walking along the road, and I saw these African drummers drumming, and then the Scottish guy with his whatever was just playing and it was just a perfect way of just welcoming me to Edinburgh. And I just thought, wow, this is it. I don't have to feel sorry that I haven't got my uniform. But actually, if I can pull this off with people talking to me, that I could actually wear the uniform, wear that kilt to the show. So my first 3 shows, I wore that kilt to the show, and actually people thought I was part of the African African drummers. Yeah.
The comedy gods were with you.
Oh, the comedy gods were so it was so and this is one thing that we haven't really explored. In my view, my comedy is spiritual. There's a connection with gods. There's no two ways about it. Because just how that happened. And then when I arrived on stage, it's not that I was planning a week ago or so to wear a kilt. So I went on stage, my first show, which was a good show, but I just know there was some distraction. What I did not know in Edinburgh is that when you wear a kilt, Scottish people believe that you're wearing nothing underneath. So when I was performing, audience members will be asking, Mr. President, we want to know what you're wearing underneath, whether you're wearing anything. And that was just a distraction, but it was
They
funny.
wanted they wanted to see your dead leg.
Yeah, and I just thought, but actually, they just wanted to know whether I was wearing anything because
Mm.
that's what happens across Edinburgh. If you're wearing a kilt, automatically they assume that the man is not wearing any boxers. So that's what happened, and yeah, and it's got me thinking that if I go to Edinburgh again, I should dress in a kilt and do a show, about Black Scottish history or something like that. So it's giving
Yeah.
me ideas. It's giving me ideas, and it's really interesting because I did say it's a white comedy industry, but however, look at what happened. Look at those people I saw out there playing the drums and the rhythm and the way people were taking pictures. People were taking pictures, and it was an opportunity for me to then say, "Oh, I've got a show. Come to my show." Come, PR.
That is so good.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for joining us. We've gotten to know you better.
Thank you.
Not only are you a brilliant comedian, you are such a great human being.
Thank
And
you.
you helped a lot of us who came after you to do comedy in England. So I appreciate you a lot for that.
Thank you.
And where can people follow you?
So people can follow me on Twitter as President Obonjo, at Real Obonjo. I'm the only Obonjo on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram, President Obonjo, the only Obonjo on Instagram. Everything else is fake. TikTok, I now have some real fake profiles on TikTok. It's not mine, but the only one is President Obonjo with 450,000 followers. The one with 450,000 followers is me, and you will know it's me because you see the character there. Um, you can also follow me on Facebook, President Obonjo on Facebook. I also have a YouTube account, President Obonjo on YouTube. If you're around in Bedford, I've got lots of shows, but this one is really, really important. It's on the 26th of October in Bedford. We're celebrating Black History Month. So you've got myself, you've got Dana Alexander, she's a Canadian who's based in the United Kingdom. You've got Quincy, who is Afro-Caribbean, he's based in the United Kingdom, and you've got Junior, who is Jamaican, he's based in the United Kingdom. So it's lovely. It's Black History Month, so that's why we have Black comics on the lineup because it's all about Black history.
This is a really good lineup.
Yeah, it's a solid, massive,
It's
solid
very
lineup,
solid.
and the
Yeah.
show is going to sell out very quickly. So please do, if you're
Do
interested,
buy
do
your tickets. Get your
buy it.
tickets. I will post the link to where
Yeah,
you can get your tickets. This
mm,
is a show I would highly recommend. It's a very solid lineup.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Dr. Tenjiwe has been there. She killed it the first time, and the promoter said, "Who is she? We want her back. We want her back." I said, "Yeah, a couple of months," and you came back, and you are the only one, the only comic, because I've had several comics, but you're the only comic who's come back twice.
Oh,
So
thank
that's
you.
just testament to your comedic ability.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much, Mr. President. I can't even call you by your real name anymore. When I see you, I just see the president.
This is the challenge I'm facing. So I told you a week ago. So I did a show as myself, just performing as myself. It was a 20-minute set, and the MC kept coming back to me to say, "Are you sure you're not President Obonjo? Because you don't try to." I said, "He said he can't remember my real name." I said, "No, just say Ben or Benjamin. Don't worry about President." And then I went on stage, and he was just about to call me President Obonjo. So
Oh,
yeah. So that's why I need to do more of myself. People need to hear my story, and I intend to do that.
what I would love to see is to see you being booked on the same bill as yourself and as the president.
Oh, that's happening. So you reminded me, and I forgot to mention this. On the 23rd of October, we have a show in Kentish Town. So I am hosting the show. So I'm performing as myself, and then the president will come as well. It's in Kentish Town. It's poetry and comedy. We've called it Poetry Meets Comedy, and it's going to be a fantastic show. I will post about it on TikTok and on Instagram. It's on the 23rd of October. So I host it, and then it's an opportunity for me to then bring President Obonjo. Let's see whether white people will know it's the same person.
Ooh, that is so interesting. What a way to celebrate Black History Month.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. We
Thank you.
appreciate you. Thank you for spending
you.
time with us. Thank you. Bye. And thank you so much, guys. Please do make sure that you follow the president on all his social media platforms, because if your love is not on the gram, it's a scam. Thank you so much. Have a happy Black History Month.